in local news next. Severe weather is on its way out in central Illinois. That story comes up this morning in news, as well as the McLean County Museum of History, again, has opened up its summer career camps, and they look forward to providing that opportunity to local youngsters. That story comes up with Candace Summers in news this morning. We've also got a look at this week's crop report. Those stories and more come up in news on this Tuesday. But first, we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. With inflation, cost of living, and gas prices on the rise, so are the costs of services offered by a local law enforcement agency. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, DeWitt County Board Chair Joe Whitty told Regional Radio at last week's DeWitt County Board meeting a motion to increase the cost of services like eviction standby and fingerprinting was passed. The decision comes on the heels of a recent cost study done on the sheriff's office.
Periodically, we'll have to look at the fees that we choose or we charge for various services. Public safety had two different studies done recently. One was more for animal control. What we covered last week at the board meeting was the results of the cost study that was done for the sheriff's office. We are not allowed to just charge any fee that we want, for services that the sheriff's office charges or that they provide. We have to engage a third party to kind of do a cost study. So we engaged Bellwether. That's a little investment to get that study done. I think the last time we did it was maybe almost a decade ago. Yeah. So the fees are kind of at that point, that level, until you have another cost study done that can justify based on what your actual expenses are to provide those services, until you can justify an increase or, if fees need to stay the same. So Sheriff Walker did request that we do that cost study for, the various services that they provide. And they got those results back, about a month ago. That gave time for Sheriff Walker to kind of go through and make some recommendations, and he brought those to public safety.
Whitty emphasizes these increases are not coming without need. While it's important to keep public services reasonably priced, the county also must keep costs up to date so services can be funded.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, there were a few fees that we did increase or will be increasing. I don't know if the effective date was going to be beginning of this coming month, but yeah, it's not to charge more and make more money. It's to find a cost that is comparable to cover the, as best we can, the expenses that, we're seeing realized for providing those services. We can't raise those certain fees unless you have that justified by a cost study. So when you think 10 years ago, or I think it was maybe 2011, 2012, when we last raised some of these fees, gas prices necessarily weren't what they are now. Labor has gone up. So the county sees increasing expenses for, just providing some of these services. And at some point you start to realize that maybe what we're charging is not in line with what we're spending. Does it make sense to potentially raise those fees, or do you just continue to charge what we charge, starting back in, a decade or so ago? And eventually you're going to see that deviate enough. It was about $10,000 to do a study. So you don't want to just do this every year. You just don't, it doesn't make sense. The thought is you spend the money to do the study. You don't necessarily have to increase all your fees. And we didn't increase the fees across the board to what was necessarily, what we could charge. But there were several that, were obviously falling behind where we should be charging a little bit more to basically offset what we're spending.
A cost study was done for DeWitt County Animal Control as well. Whitty notes this was done to see where spending could be reduced on the county side.
Animal Control did do a cost study around the same time. They did get their results back. But I think, as you know, from public safety, they're wanting to get a better handle on some of where their receipts are coming in. They're going to need a little bit more time before they come forward with any recommendation, if they do at all. Not everything is intended to be a profit center. Nothing really is. There's got to be certain things in the county where you have to provide a service, and it's going to cost more than what we can bring in. And you can't charge fees necessarily of the public to cover 100% of your expenses related to something like animal control. The intent there was, are we charging a fair fee, even though it's not going to cover all the expenses that we have at an animal control? So that they need a little bit more time to look at over those results, get a better handle on, what we're taking in. As you know, Grace has taken over animal control recently and is still trying to get a good handle on the paperwork side of things. And then maybe in the near future, we might have some recommendations. But, again, if we were to charge what it costs us at the animal control, we're not going to have 100% compliance, right? People are just going to turn animals loose instead of turning them over to animal control or relinquishing.
Whitty makes the point, if costs were not increased for the Sheriff's Department services, it would come at the cost of the taxpayer. This would increase the amount paid by citizens who are potentially not using those extra services. 7:15 is news time on this Tuesday. Severe weather has pounded central Illinois in the last several weeks, and on the WHOW Morning Show Monday, Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln told regional radio after the severe weather predicted for the late hours last night, things are looking up.
Yeah, we have a severe weather outlook here for tonight, late tonight. There's a pretty strong frontal system, low pressure, a lot of wind. Storms that come in probably at about 3 to 4 in the morning are going to possibly pack a punch, a little bit of damaging winds, large hail. The tornado threat is a little bit lower at 3 or 4 in the morning, but still not zero. After we get this storm system out of the way, it looks like we're going to be decent the rest of this week. And then, starting May is by the end of the week, we're into May. So temperatures will be above normal through that whole time. It doesn't look like really, we average around 69 for a high by the end of the month here. So I don't see any highs below that, although Friday, 68, but really, upper 60s and 70s for the rest of the week. A little bit of rain coming with that Thursday night, Friday system, and it looks like a rainy Wednesday too. So I know we're in the outlook for a little bit of excessive rainfall outlook for Wednesday into Thursday. But beyond that, then we should have some dry weather for the weekend. Really nice, warming up by Sunday and up, mid 70s or so. And that's going to continue actually in the outlooks through the first week of May, above normal temps, a little bit above normal precip in there in the first week of May. But then the middle of the month of May, actually, we're trending towards above normal temperatures through the whole month, but then equal chances of above or below normal precip beyond that. So looks like we'll dry out a little bit.
The uptick in severe weather has been due to a slow-moving jet stream, which is allowing storms to sit right on top of central Illinois. Shimon indicates the tornado total has already surpassed the yearly average.
Yeah, we've been kind of right on the oscillation of the jet stream pattern has been almost directly over Illinois for pretty much every third day. It seems like we were like, oh, severe weather, oh, tornado, you got one. So when that jet stream is starting to transition from the winter time to the summertime, right in the middle of spring, we just got kind of in that lull of where the jet stream was in transition, and it just hit March 14th. Everything just opened up, and we've had severe weather on a regular basis since then. Pretty much, it's just a matter of that jet stream and how quickly it transitions. And this year, it slowed down a little bit, so right over us right now, and we're paying the price with severe weather. April and May are our biggest months of severe weather in general, so it's not unusual, but it started in mid-March, so maybe a little bit earlier, but still, it's been very active. We're already at, I think, 66 tornadoes in Illinois so far this year, 67, and we average every year, calendar year, 62, so we're already 5 above our normal annual number of tornadoes.
Shimon explains we are ahead of pace for severe weather compared to last year. However, April's precipitation totals are sitting just below normal.
We're ahead of what we were last year at this point. Last year we had more tornadoes. Like we had a big derecho in July, the 14th, 15th. Both those days had a lot of tornadoes in Illinois. Actually, it was our most ever in Illinois in a 24-hour period. We had 48. So we're ahead of where we were last year, but we had a huge July in terms of numbers. So April came in, was a little below normal. Yeah, just about a quarter inch below normal, 3.41 inches so far this month. So we're a little below normal in April. Clinton Observer is 4.95 inches so far in April. So that was a Lincoln number I was showing you. So there's a little bit more rain over DeWitt County. You're doing pretty well. That's above normal for the month if you had 4.95 right there in town. And then the other observer in the east part of the county, Farmer City, had 4.04. So right now, DeWitt County had plenty of rain in April. In fact, the drought outlook or the drought monitor has no drought status in DeWitt County.
Shipman emphasizes planning for severe weather and having a reliable notification system in the event of a tornado. The months ahead are looking warmer than average. We'll have more on that this week still on Regional Radio with Shipman. In the meantime, learn more at weather.gov. 19 minutes after 7 o'clock is news time here on this Tuesday morning. Still to come, we've got the latest crop reports. That's coming up in just a bit. As the school year comes to an end, it's time to start thinking of summer opportunities for your youngsters. Candace Summers with the McLean County Museum of History hopes you'll consider their Futures in History camp, returning this summer for those who have an interest in history.
So we have our annual Futures in History camp, doing a full week camp, 5 days a week in June. And then we have a couple mini camps in July. And yeah, it is one of my favorite summer activities because we really get to take a deep dive with students entering 5th, 6th, and 7th grades and explore the different careers that there are in the field of history. I've seen it over the years. You know, I've done all but the very first camp. The very first camp happened in 2004 before I started the museum, but I've been there ever since, including the summer we had to do Zoom camps during COVID. And just seeing kids get excited, you know, there were a lot of kids like me out there where, you liked to play softball and baseball and stuff like that for fun. You know, I went to Girl Scout camp. I did that, you know, for a lot of years in my youth. But this is truly a unique opportunity for students who are that budding historian or maybe have an interest in archaeology or environmental studies, and they can see that you can actually do a job with that. You know, I didn't think I could do a job as a historian in a museum, you know, when I was a kid. And, you know, here I am. I've been here 20 years at this museum. And every summer, I just love, you know, fostering that passion in students in history.
Each day of the week is a long session is a new experience for students. Summers explains they dive into topics from archaeology to architecture.
So as always, during the week-long camp, every day is a different experience. So one of the days, of course, we explore archaeology, which is very close to my heart. I studied that in undergrad, and we get to show the kids about how archaeologists, you know, discover the history of a place, of a site, of people, through the things that they leave behind, the material culture that they leave behind. So students actually get to participate in a mock excavation, you know, find things authentic to the time period. We're gonna, you know, learn about the David Davis Mansion on that day, who those people were, how we can learn about them through the stuff that people leave behind. We're gonna do a whole day on art and architecture in downtown Bloomington, where we explore the built environment. We also are gonna do a civics in action day, where we learn about government and how history goes hand in hand with that, learn how government works. Of course, we do behind the scenes day on museum studies, and the students get to see things in our museum that not many people do get to see in our collection areas, meet the staff, and then create their own pop-up exhibits. And on the Friday, we kind of do more about focus on the environment that we live in. We typically do a visit to Rivian to kind of learn about that new aspect of technology through electric vehicles, and a visit to Miller Park as well. So it's a jam-packed week, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day, and the kids will be exhausted every day, but they go home.
Summers believes all students can find something they like in the Futures in History camp. She also notes the program is perfect for new and returning students.
Well, of course, you're going to have your kids that are like, I don't want to be here. You know, what's happening? I just want to like stay home, you know, read a book or whatever. But for a lot of kids, there's at least one day or one thing that really hooked them in, and they've had fun. I've never had, you know, someone just say, this is just the worst thing. I hated this, you know, what's happening. There was at least one thing they liked, or they made a new friend. You know, they made a new friend, you know, that might go to a different school, or even, you know, it's a student who they're going to meet, you know, in their new school that they're all rising to. There's always been a really positive atmosphere for this camp and the kids that do it. And And we have a lot of repeats. We get kids that come back every year that they're old enough to do it because they have so much fun. And I mean, we tell the parents, there's like, we do some of the same things every year. Are you sure they want to come? Oh, they want to come? Absolutely. And they do. They love it. They have fun. And it's kind of a way of like the kids can mentor younger kids too, because they do know like what's happening. They have some experience so that they themselves can kind of jump in and help people.
To learn more about the Futures in History Camp, visit mchistory.org or follow them on Facebook. 24 minutes after 7 o'clock is news time on this Tuesday. We'll take a quick break, come back, get to that crop report, and finish out our newscast on the WHOW Morning Show.
Spring is in the air, so it's time to choose your new Silverado. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverados with springtime savings and special finance rates. Choose from regular cabs, double cabs, or crew cabs in gas or diesel. We're also allowing extra money for your trade on all new Silverados this month. Silverado, together let's drive. See all our inventory at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time, 26 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Planting continues to make good progress in Illinois as producers have had a favorable stretch of weather in the last few weeks. Brad Summa, director of USDA Nass Heartland region, indicates temperatures have been above normal the last 7 days.
Statewide, the average temperatures was 59.6 degrees, which was 3.8 degrees above normal. Precipitation averaged 1.1 inches, which was 0.26 inches above normal. Statewide, the topsoil moisture supply is now rated at 1% very short, 10% short, 66% adequate, and 23% surplus. The subsoil moisture supply was rated 2% very short, 14% short, 66% adequate, and 18% surplus.
Corn planting remains a little behind, while soybean planting is ahead of the 5-year pace.
For the Illinois corn crop, corn has been planted in 16% of the fields now compared to the 5-year average of 26%, and corn emerged has reached 2% compared to the 5-year average of 3%. Soybeans planted reached 22% compared to the 5-year average of 20%. And the soybeans emerged has reached 4% compared to the 5-year average of 2%.
Winter wheat is mostly in good condition, while pasture conditions are 42% in good condition and 18% in excellent condition.
Winter wheat headed has reached 16% compared to the 5-year average of 12%. And the winter wheat condition was rated 2% very poor, 4% poor, 37% fair, 49% good, and 8% excellent. For our Illinois cattlemen, the pasture condition were rated 2% very poor, 5% poor, 33% fair, 42% good, and 18% excellent.
More rain is in the forecast for parts of Illinois this week. Several producers in central Illinois report they've wrapped up their soybean planting already. News time, 28 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 84-year-old Dorothy M. Ross of Clinton, formerly of McLean, passed away at Manor Care Nursing Home in Clinton on Sunday, April 20th. Cremation rights for 84-year-old Dorothy M. Ross have been accorded. A memorial service will be held at a later date with the burial in McLean Cemetery. Memorials can be made to UAMS Medical Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. Peasley Funeral Home of Lincoln is assisting the family with arrangements. 55-year-old Rhonda E. Thornton of Bloomington passed away April 25th. Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton is in charge of arrangements for 55-year-old Rhonda E. Thornton. Online condolences can be made at calvertmemorial.com. News time is 29 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Coming up in sports here this morning, it was a beautiful day for high school sports in Central Illinois, and boy, there was a bevy of baseball and softball. Winners in baseball, Clinton, Monticello, Normal West, Normal Community, all winners yesterday. On the softball diamond, winners included Blue Ridge, Heyworth, and Argenta-Oreana. Those stories in sports, they follow network news here on this Tuesday. Again, we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. News brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and by Connexus, providing fiber internet in Clinton. Learn more at DeWittDailyNews.com. Network News is now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A flurry of executive orders and clashes with the courts have marked the first 100 days of President Trump's second term. That milestone is not going unnoticed. The president holds a rally this evening in Michigan. One of Mr. Trump's shining accomplishments in the eyes of Senator Tom Cotton is the way the border has been secured. Not only have Canadian voters decided to keep Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party in power, the CBC projects that Carney's challenger, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, will lose his parliamentary seat. UPS announcing 20,000 job cuts this year. A package delivery service citing a decline in Amazon-related shipping volume. And while reporting first quarter results that were strong, GM says vehicle tariffs prompting it to reassess its prior forecast for the rest of the year. More details at srnnews.com.
Sale would be unlawful.
With SRN Sports, I'm Andrew Stewart. Winners in the NBA playoff games yesterday. Jimmy Butler converted 3 free throws with more than 58 seconds left. He grabbed the game-clinching rebound with 4 seconds to go and then made 2 more free throws on his way to 27 points in his return from a pelvic injury. Butler helped his Golden State Warriors get by the Houston Rockets 109-106 in a heated Game 4. The Warriors now have a 3-1 lead in the first-round playoff series. Both teams return to Houston for Game 5 in the best-of-7 series this Wednesday night. Other winners in the NBA playoff games yesterday, Cleveland just shattered Miami 138-83. Winners in the NHL playoff games yesterday, Florida and Dallas. Winners in baseball yesterday in the National League, the Mets and the Dodgers. This is SRN Sports. An NFL team returning to its famed city.
The mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, announced the return of the Commanders football team
back to RFK, where they belong.
Bowser also thanked the team's current owner, Josh Harris.
Thank you for not just buying our team, some would say saving our team.
The stadium will open in 2030 and cost the Commanders $2.7 billion.
That's correspondent Lisa Dwyer in Washington. Also in the NFL, President Trump hosted the 2025 Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at the White House yesterday, but several players, including quarterback Jalen Hurts, skipped the event. Hurts and other players cited scheduling conflicts as the reasons for their absences. And wide receiver Deontay Johnson agrees to a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Browns. With sports, I'm Andrew Stewart.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Clinton started fast and did not look back in a 12-2 Central Illinois Conference win over Meridian on Monday from Macon. Colton Walker singled to start the game, stole second and advanced to third on a pass ball, then scored on a wild pitch before Josh Bass doubled. Ryan Pine and Mitchell Cornwell drew back-to-back walks, and Jaden Bell doubled, driving Pine and Cornwell in. John Smock was hit by a pitch, and Jackson Reynolds capped off the inning with a double, driving in both Bell and Smock to put the Maroons up 5-0 early. In the top of the sixth, the Maroons added 3 more. Pine doubled. Cole Fentress followed with a walk. Then Cornwell singled, advancing Fentress to third. A wild pitch allowed Fentress to score, and later in the inning, Smock singled, scoring Cornwell, and another wild pitch allowed Fentress to score. Fentress earned the win on the mound, pitching 4 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. Bell fired 2 scoreless innings of relief with 4 strikeouts. Walker was 4 for 4 with 3 stolen bases. Cornwell was 1 for 2 with an RBI and a stolen base, while Pine stole 3 bases and had 2 hits. Jackson Reynolds and Bell drove in 2 runs apiece. Bass continued his hot hitting, finishing 1 for 3 with an RBI and a stolen base. Smock was 1 for 3 with an RBI, and Fentress scored 2 runs and had a stolen base. The Maroons improved to 9-10 overall and 4-3 in the Central Illinois Conference. They will host Tuscola on Wednesday afternoon. Hear the action on WHOW and all its digital platforms. Monticello hit 4 home runs and powered past Pontiac 19-3 in Illini Prairie Conference high school baseball action from Pontiac on Monday. Eli Kraft was 3 for 3 with a homer, a double, and 4 RBIs for the Sages. Colton Vance homered, finishing 3 for 3 with a homer and 4 RBIs. Drake Weeks came off the bench to drive in 2. Eric Arnold had 2 hits and an RBI for Monticello. Ike Young drove in 2, and Cole Basak was 2 for 2 with a solo home run. Brian Wilchin had 3 RBIs. Russ Brown and Hayden Romano each had a hit and an RBI. The Sages go to 17-3 overall and 4-1 in the Lincoln Prairie Conference. They will host Mount Zion this afternoon. Normal West made easy work of Peoria in a pair of shutout 10-run rule victories Monday in Big 12 Conference high school baseball action from Normal. The Wildcats set the tone for the day with a dominant 15-0 victory in the first game in 3 innings. A 6-run first, a 4-run second, and a 5-run third paced a balanced attack for Normal West. Chase Newth's double in the first drove in Brady Hart. Sean Jenkins fired a 3-inning shutout with 8 strikeouts. Chase Reinhart was 2 for 2 with a double and 3 RBIs. Brady Hart was 2 for 2 while Newth was 2 for 2 with a double and 3 RBIs. Sean Jenkins hit a triple with a run batted in. The Wildcats ran away with a 19-0 win in just 2 innings in the second game. 12-run first set the tone. Chase Reinhart scored Nolan Schultz. Ryder Kuhn scored Sean Jenkins. Sam McCulley scored Gage Flaherty, and Brady Pollitt scored Reagan Williams with hits. Flaherty also had a double in the inning. Reinhart was 2 for 2 with a double and 2 RBIs. Kuhn was 2 for 3 with a double and 2 RBIs, while Williams was had 2 RBIs for Normal West. The Wildcats go to 15-8 overall and 9-3 in the Big 12. They're off until Friday when they host Danville in Big 12 conference play. Jacob Engel racked up 9 strikeouts across 5 no-hit innings as Normal Community defeated Peoria Richwoods 4-0 in Big 12 conference high school baseball from Normal Monday. Normal Community got the scoring started in the bottom of the first after Max Heineman singled. Gavin Michaels drove him in with a single to left, giving the Ironmen an early 1-0 lead. Nauer singled home Burkhardt, extending the lead to 2-0 in the third. Heineman delivered an RBI single, scoring Kyle Beatty and pushing the lead to 4-0 in the fifth. Heineman was 2 for 2 with an RBI, while Nauer was 2 for 3 with an RBI. Gavin Michaels had an RBI single. Normal Community is 15-4 overall and 10-1, in the Big 12. They travel to Peoria to take on Richwoods on Wednesday. Meridian hit 3 home runs and rolled to an easy 17-0 win over Clinton in Central Illinois Conference high school softball action on Monday in Macon. Riley Fentress drew a walk and was just one of 3 base runners for the Lady Maroons. Clinton committed 7 errors that led to 9 of the 17 runs allowed by Olivia Haynes to be unearned in circle. The Lady Maroons dropped to 4-10 overall and 0-4 in the Central Illinois Conference. They host Argenta-Oreana on Tuesday. Monticello faced a tough matchup against state-ranked Pontiac on Monday, falling 10-0 in Illini Prairie Conference high school softball action from Pontiac. The Lady Sages managed just 3 hits in the game, recorded by Sadie Walsh, Thea Key, and Cassidy Stoffel. Monticello falls to 16-5 overall and 5-1 in the Illini Prairie Conference. They host Urbana on Tuesday. Hear this afternoon's action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. Blue Ridge doubled up Cerro Gordo Mint 8-4 in Lincoln Prairie Conference High School softball action from Cerro Gordo on Monday. The Lady Knights broke a 3-3 tie in the sixth inning. Ellie Schleeper drew a walk, followed by a single from Macy Wooling. A sac bunt by Presley Hardesty, coupled with an error by Cerro Gordo Mint, allowed Schleeper to score. The rally continued with a walk by Carson Steiger, followed by 3 consecutive singles from Addison Rose, Lily Anger, and Carly Fenton, each driving in a run and extending Blue Ridge's lead to 8-3. Rose was a perfect 4 for 4 at the plate, driving in a run. Anger added 2 hits and 2 RBIs, while Fenton chipped in with 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Schleeper went the distance in circle for Blue Ridge, earning the win after pitching a complete 7 innings. She allowed 4 runs, 1 was earned on 4 hits, while striking out 8 and walking just 1. The Lady Knights are 8-9 overall and 2-4 in the Lincoln Prairie Conference. They'll host Okaw Valley on Thursday. Heyworth overwhelmed El Paso Gridley 16-6 and walked off on a run rule win Monday from Heyworth in Heart of Illinois High School softball action. Heyworth's offense exploded early, scoring an incredible 9 runs in the first inning. Emily Rogers' game-ending home run to left scored Emerson Becker and Haley Rogers, triggering the 10-run rule and securing the 16-6 win for Heyworth. Rogers was 4 for 4 with the walk-off homer, 2 doubles and 4 RBIs. Grace Streams was 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 stolen bases. Haley Rogers added a hit and an RBI. Natalie Kopp earned the win for Heyworth in circle, twirling 5 innings. The win was the first for the Lady Hornets in the Heart of Illinois Conference, improving to 1-6 while going to 7-10 overall. They host Tri-Valley on Wednesday. Argenta-Oreana shut out Oakland Tri-County 6-0 in Lincoln Prairie Conference High School softball action Monday in Shiloh. Elisa Armstrong twirled a complete game, allowing just 2 hits and 2 walks across 7 innings while striking out 9. Bryn Jones led the way for the Lady Bombers, finishing 3 for 3 with an RBI. Gracie Manning was 2 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs. Karma Giles was 2 for 4 with a double, while Sophia Wicklund drove in 2, going 2 for 4. Piper Jones added a double, finishing 1 for 3. The Argenta-Oreana stays unbeaten in Lincoln Prairie Conference play, going to 7-0 in conference and 10-9 overall. They'll visit Clinton this afternoon. Tamira Blackburn Kelly twirled a complete game shutout, and St. Joe Ogden beat Maroa Forsyth Monday in non-conference high school softball action in St. Joseph. Blackburn Kelly allowed just 4 hits and struck out 4. The Lady Spartans scored a run in the second inning before adding 2 runs in both the third and fourth innings. Blackburn Kelly went 2 for 3 with a homer, a triple, and 3 RBIs. Kinsey Atwood added 2 hits, while Thea Smith had an RBI for the Lady Spartans. For the Lady Trojans, Adeline Simmons went a perfect 3 for 3 at the plate. Maroa Forsyth is 9-6 overall. St. Joe Ogden goes to 16-7. The Lady Trojans will host Olympia on Tuesday. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Highs level off around 74 today under overcast skies with a chance of thunderstorms. Westerly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows dip down to about 50. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow, rain showers likely, highs level off around 69. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 73 degrees.
This is the RFD Livestock Report. I'm Rita Frazier. More today with Josh Mashoff, President, Illinois Pork Producers. IPPA joined National Pork Producers Council recently in D.C. to talk big issues, farm bill, funding, and potential cuts at USDA.
One of the things that was really intriguing to me in the most recent visit to DC was that the legislature was very familiar with the topics that we have listed as priorities. It does feel like they've bent an ear and listened to us to some degree because, yeah, we know, protect our borders, make sure we're not letting ASF and other diseases in, Beagle Brigade, Farm Bill, trade. Is there anything else? So they can quickly rattle off in 30 seconds what our top priorities are. And that felt really good because it made us feel like we were listened to. There is a strong appetite, obviously, to look for support for a fix to Proposition 12 in the Farm Bill. And there is a whole lot of support on the Farm Bill. I think the most concerning thing, Rita, is that with the cuts, there's some heavy pressure on the SNAP funding that would go into the Farm Bill. As producers, we very much know that without SNAP, Congress will not physically pass a Farm Bill because, well, let's be honest, every senator has agriculture in their state, but every congressman may not. And it's going to be really difficult for them to pass that if there's no interest from any of the constituents in their area. And so those two really need each other to work through that. I'm confident that we've got the right people and we've got the right message across, and they're focusing correctly on the priorities and the asks that we have for the National Animal Health Laboratory Network, the Disease Preparedness and Response Program, a stockpile for the vaccine bank, additional veterinary countermeasures in there, that we've got those asks and we have that awareness at the Capitol Hill level. I'm concerned that if we pull back